Hey everyone, and welcome back. I'm Simon, bringing you more Magic the Gathering lore. Aether Revolt is here, and with it brings new cards, new characters, and the final chapters of our story on the world of Kaladesh. On the last episode, we discovered more of the malicious planeswalker Tezzeret's plans. Anointing himself head consul of the consulate, Tezzeret has confiscated every prized inventor and their work from the Inventor's Fair. Yet, he was specifically invested in a matter transporter device invented by the elf, Rashmi. Being a non-planeswalker, Rashmi didn't truly understand the power she was meddling with. That is, until her portal thrust her into the Blind Eternities, and she saw the splendor of the multiverse for herself. With a greater understanding, she realized that Tezzeret's plans could never amount to any good. Failing to destroy her own invention, she did manage to escape his clutches and rejoin the Renegades, a group determined to stop Tezzeret's tyrannical rule. Now, together with Chandra and her mother leading the charge, the Renegades are put to their first test, starting a rebellion. Their plan is simple: take control of one of the city's large Aether Hubs. This will fuel their rebellion with the ether they need to overthrow Tezzeret. Although it's a lot easier said than done. With Tezzeret growing more paranoid by the day, security is at an all-time high, and while they have the force of the Gatewatch working with them, the Renegades still need more. Chandra and Pia are sent to recruit more willing to fight for freedom, forgotten and discarded inventors who've had everything taken from them by order of the consulate. While Pia has been leading the Renegades for years now, the proven leader willingly passes the mantle over to her daughter, Chandra, who she knows can inspire a crowd if she would only speak from her heart. Chandra's first test would come at a shady back alley tavern where despair is served just as frequently as booze. Pia's sure this is exactly the place they needed to be. Everyone there's lost something to Tezzeret. It was visible in their faces, in their saddened brows and angry eyes. They were waiting for a fire to erupt, but first they just needed a spark. Their spark would be Chandra. Although she wasn't confident in her auditory skills, she did have plenty to say. She had lost something just as they all had: her father, Kieran, who was killed during his efforts to supply the needy with restricted ether. Everyone in the room could relate in some way, but the crowd responded with anger more so than volleyed support. The consulate had taken everything from them, even the means to fight back. They won a fight, but how? Pia and Chandra had to show them, but first, the bar was about to turn into a complete riot. Maybe they added a tad too much fire. Luckily, a well-dressed Aetherborn walked in with 2 guards and calmed the rabble, while also escorting Pia and Chandra to a secure location just below the main floor. They were being taken to Gonti, the Aetherborn crime lord who had far greater control over the city than anyone first realized. Gonti was contacted by the Renegades before, by Yahini looking to help his friends. While Gonti was willing to help, he showed it in a very strange way, by releasing their secret hiding place to consulate officers, a betrayal Chandra was not willing to easily overlook. Gonti offered them an explanation. The consulate's control was staggering for his, business. They needed a decisive action, not a rational response. Sending the consulate their way was Gonti's way of inspiring them to act rather than just talk. Now, seeing them here today, riling up supporters, it looked as if the Renegades were finally ready to be decisive. Gonti was willing to help, provide them with the tools they needed to topple Tezzeret, for a price of course. That price would depend on how effective their little revolt went. For now, however, Pia and Chandra were given a supply of rather illegal equipment. They walked into this bar as a mother and child looking for change, and left as a well-equipped army. With the supplies firmly in hand, Pia, Chandra, and their Renegades faced a more daunting challenge of overtaking the Aether Hub, which could fuel their rebellion. The Aether Hub was under the command of a dwarf edificer named Shram. A crude but calculating dwarf, Shram rose through the ranks despite his rough and somewhat undignified practices. He often would chew on small tools, as if they were toothpicks. An unprofessional habit to be sure, but one his colleagues looked to discredit him with. Yet, at the end of the day, the consulate awards promotions based on performance, not lack of disgusting habits. Thus, Shram found himself appointed as senior edificer of the Aether Hub. Yet his title didn't prevent him from making enemies from within the bureaucratic consulate itself. One of his higher-ups, Campbell, Consul of Allocations, was just one Schramm managed to annoy with his position. While Campbell could do nothing to harm Schramm's placement, he did try to make the dwarf's life as unpleasant as possible. Though nothing really came of it. That was until the Aether Hub fell under attack by Renegade rebels. As a turn of bad luck on an already upsetting day, Campbell was visiting the Aether Hub the day it was attacked. Sirens began to blare, warnings flickered from ether-fueled lights, and other edificers shouted out various malfunctions and explosions being reported all over the facility. Campbell was rushed, embarrassingly, to safety, while Schramm took charge of the hub's defense. As security measure after security measure began to fail, and the pounding of Maul-Fist renegades grew louder and closer to the command room, Schramm prepared his meager men to defend the hub. Yet, on the final punch, as the steel door gave way, they were shocked at the number of renegades pouring in. For each of Schramm's men, at least 2 renegade weapons were placed on them. They had lost the hub. Schramm surrendered. His men were not fighters, just edificers doing their jobs. He wasn't gonna see them die. The Renegades had gained control of the Aether Hub. The rebellion's first test was an outstanding success. With victory fresh in their minds, the Renegades returned to their secret holding to celebrate. Yet they weren't just celebrating this one accomplishment, but that of the elf Rashmi as well. Since she joined the Renegades, she was looking for a way to redeem herself in her own eyes. She had created this powerful Planar Bridge, and now it could be used for an evil purpose. Her newest creation, however, would help correct that mistake, and hopefully, it could eventually be used for something good. She was building a mighty skyship, one to rival the consulate and to lead the assault on Tezzeret's spire. It would be called Tezzeret's Ruin. But as Rashmi turned the final bolt of the ship's engine, she spies an engraving, the initials KN, Kieran Nalar, the original designer of the ship. Looking deep into the spanning circuits and ether lines, Rashmi felt the soul of Kieran in his invention. This ship wasn't meant to destroy, but inspire hope. The Renegades will use it to bring down Tezzeret, yes, but in that act, it may soar for hope that all on Kaladesh will once again be free. In a very emotional dedication ceremony, Rashmi alters the name of the ship from Tezzeret's Ruin to Heart of Kieran. The Renegades now have a weapon that could restore the balance on Kaladesh and end the one who had taken everything from them. And that, you guys, is the story thus far in the video form for Aether Revolt. The Renegades will soon begin their assault on Tezzeret and the consulate, but they should be wary of what tricks he has up his sleeves. Tezzeret isn't your ordinary opponent. He's a powerful planeswalker with untapped potential. Anything can happen in the story to come. But regardless, let me know what you thought about this story and the video in the comments below. If you enjoyed it and want to see more, consider throwing it a like, sharing it with friends, and subscribing for all the latest MTG news and lore. As always, guys, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.